It started with a message, not a grand gesture, not a public reunion, just a quiet late-night text sent from one heart to another. After years of silence, Park Bo-gum and Kim Yoo Jung's paths crossed again, not on a film set or an award stage, but in the stillness of the night where words carried more weight than ever. And that single message would change everything. It had been a long time since they had spoken. Both had grown, as artists, as people, as souls navigating the spotlight. Back in their love in the moonlight days, their connection had been undeniable. The chemistry on screen was so natural that fans around the world believed something deeper was there. But time, distance, and the demands of fame had pulled them apart. Bo-gum enlisted. Yoo Jung continued to build her career, stepping into new roles and maturing gracefully before the public's eyes. And though they occasionally mentioned each other in interviews, always with warmth, always with respect, the spark they once shared seemed to fade into memory. Until that one night. Bo-gum had been scrolling through his old photos, snapshots from drama sets, fan events, and moments that reminded him of simpler times. Then he stumbled upon a picture of Yoo Jung laughing behind the camera, holding a cup of coffee, teasing him for forgetting his lines again. He paused. That laughter, unfiltered, unforced, had always stayed with him. And before he could stop himself, his fingers began to type. It's been a while, Yoo Jung. I saw one of our old photos today. You were laughing. I forgot how bright that moment was. He hesitated before hitting send. It was nearly midnight. He knew she might be asleep, or maybe she wouldn't reply at all. But something told him it was time. Time to reach out. The message went through. The phone screen dimmed. Silence filled the room. Bo-gum placed his phone on the table, smiled faintly, and whispered, "Good night." But then, a few minutes later, it vibrated. Her reply came. I remember that day. You forgot your lines 3 times because you couldn't stop laughing. Bo-gum chuckled. She remembered, and that was all it took. From that night onward, they started talking again, quietly, away from the public eye. It began with memories, behind-the-scenes jokes, stories about their drama days, the funny things the crew used to do to make them laugh. But slowly, those conversations grew deeper. They began sharing thoughts about life, faith, and how much they had both changed over the years. Yoo Jung often spoke about how she learned to stay grounded despite fame. Bo-gum talked about finding peace and gratitude during his military service. What surprised them both was how natural it felt, as if no time had passed at all. Weeks turned into months, and their late-night chats became something both of them looked forward to. Bo-gum, usually reserved about his emotions, found comfort in Yoo Jung's warmth. And Yoo Jung, often careful about whom she trusted, found safety in Bo-gum's sincerity. Sometimes, they wouldn't even talk about work. They'd just talk about life, how the city felt quieter at night, how stars look different when you're alone, how some people never really leave your heart, even if time tries to make you forget. Then, one night, after another long exchange, Yoo Jung asked him softly, "Why did you message me that night?" There was a pause. Then Bo-gum replied, "Because some people stay in your heart even when they're far away. I guess I just wanted to see if you were still there." Yoo Jung didn't reply right away. She just smiled at the screen, her heart caught between nostalgia and something new. That was the night she realized maybe some connections don't fade. They just wait for the right time to return. Eventually, they began meeting again, carefully, discreetly. At first, it was at small cafes tucked away from Seoul's busy streets. They would sit by the window, sipping coffee, reminiscing about their shared past. To onlookers, they were just 2 friends catching up. But to those who knew their history, the air between them told a deeper story. They weren't the same people they once were, and yet they still fit perfectly. Their friendship soon became a quiet support system. When Yoo Jung faced a difficult shoot, Bo-gum would send her encouraging messages, sometimes a verse, sometimes a song recommendation. When Bo-gum was preparing for a comeback, Yoo Jung sent him a handwritten note, one that simply said, "Remember why you started." Neither needed to say, "I missed you." Every word they exchanged already carried it. As word slowly began to spread within the industry, close friends noticed a change in both of them. Bo-gum seemed lighter, more relaxed. Yoo Jung glowed differently, a calm happiness that didn't need to be explained. People whispered, of course. Are they dating again? Are they still just friends? But the truth was, labels didn't matter anymore. They weren't rushing to define it. They were simply cherishing what they'd rediscovered. One evening, after a long day of filming, Bo-gum found himself walking near the Han River, the same place he and Yoo Jung had once filmed one of their most emotional scenes. He took a deep breath, looked up at the night sky, and pressed record on his phone. He sent her a voice note. Do you remember this spot? You said it was your favorite because it felt like time stopped here. I think you were right. She replied with a simple text, maybe time stopped because we were both in it. Bo-gum smiled. He knew, at that moment, that whatever this was, it was something worth protecting. Then came the night that changed everything. It was Yoo Jung's birthday. Her schedule was packed, but after her fan event, she returned home to find a small gift waiting at her door. No label, no signature, just a note. For the girl whose smile still lights up my darkest days. Inside was a photo frame, the same picture Bo-gum had seen months ago, the one of her laughing on set. Tears filled her eyes as she realized what it meant. He had kept it all this time. She took a deep breath, grabbed her phone, and called him. No words were needed. Just the sound of each other's quiet breathing said enough. That call lasted for hours. They talked about life, dreams, fears, and what they meant to each other now. Near the end of the conversation, Bo-gum finally said it. Yoo Jung, I never stopped caring. I just didn't know how to say it before. Her voice trembled slightly as she replied, You didn't need to say it. I felt it all along. And just like that, the walls between them fell. Since then, they've remained closer than ever. They still keep things private, staying away from public displays or rumors. But those who've seen them together describe a connection that's unmistakable, something gentle, grounded, and true. They attend church together when schedules allow. They send each other coffee trucks to support projects. And whenever one of them smiles during interviews, fans can't help but notice the same spark in their eyes. Because love, when it's real, doesn't need to be loud. Sometimes, it's just a message. A late-night confession. A reminder that the heart always remembers where it belongs. This is K-Drama Cycle, bringing you another story of love, fate, and second chances, because in the world of stars and spotlights, sometimes it's the quietest stories that shine the brightest. Months passed after that late-night call, and though neither Park Bo-gum nor Kim Yoo Jung made any public statement, their connection only deepened in silence. What began as a single message had now grown into something constant, something warm that neither of them needed to hide but also didn't need to announce. They found comfort in the simplicity of being present in each other's lives. When Bo-gum wrapped up filming his latest drama, Yoo Jung surprised him by sending a food truck to the set. The banner read, To the most hardworking person I know, may your light never fade. The crew laughed and teased him all day, but Bo-gum didn't mind. He smiled more than usual, and everyone could feel something had changed in him. A few weeks later, when Yoo Jung began shooting a new historical series, Bo-gum repaid the gesture. His coffee truck appeared early one morning, with a note attached to it that said, Stay warm, stay strong, and never forget how talented you are. Yoo Jung smiled when she saw it and took a quiet photo to keep for herself. Their relationship had matured in the most natural way. It wasn't rushed, nor did it follow the usual patterns of celebrity dating. They had both been through enough to know that what they had was fragile and worth protecting. So instead of grand gestures, they focused on small acts of kindness, checking in on each other after long days, sending encouraging texts before big scenes, sharing little updates about their families. These were the details that made their bond stronger. One evening, Bo-gum invited Yoo Jung to a private screening of his upcoming film. It wasn't a public event, just a quiet moment to share his work with someone who had always believed in him. After the movie ended, Yoo Jung sat in silence, visibly moved. When she finally spoke, her words were simple but sincere. You've grown so much, Bo-gum. I'm proud of you. He smiled softly and replied, I wanted you to see it first because you always saw the best in me, even when I couldn't. That night, as they walked out of the small theater, reporters waiting outside caught a brief glimpse of them together. Photos spread quickly online. Within hours, fans were buzzing with excitement. Are they back together? Was this a date? Park Bo-gum and Kim Yoo Jung together again. The internet was on fire, but the two stars remained calm. No statements were released. No denial. Just silence, the kind of silence that speaks louder than words. Behind closed doors, they talked about it, and Yoo Jung laughed softly, saying, "They'll always assume something, won't they?" Bo-gum replied, "Let them. What matters is that we know the truth." That truth was simple. They were not chasing fame or trying to prove a point. They were just being real with each other, and that was enough. A few months later, Bo-gum was invited to appear on a popular variety show. During one segment, the host casually asked, "Is there anyone special inspiring you these days?" Bo-gum hesitated for a moment, smiled, and said, "Someone who's been in my life for a long time reminds me to stay grateful." The crowd reacted instantly. Everyone knew who he meant, though he never said her name. Meanwhile, Yoo Jung watched the episode quietly from her living room. She smiled, recognizing the sincerity in his tone. Their friends often noticed how in sync they were. When Yoo Jung spoke about her goals, Bo-gum seemed to echo the same values in his interviews. They both talked about peace, gratitude, and growing through kindness. To those who knew them well, it was clear they weren't just two people catching up after years apart. They were two souls walking the same path again. Then came a turning point that surprised everyone. Yoo Jung's drama received a major award, and Bo-gum attended the ceremony as a presenter. When Yoo Jung's name was called, she walked on stage gracefully, her eyes shining. As she accepted the award, she paused briefly and looked toward the audience. Her gaze met Bo-gum's for just a second, but that glance said everything. Later, when she gave her speech, she said, "Some people enter your life once and leave a mark that never fades. I'm grateful for those who believed in me from the start." The audience clapped, unaware that those words were quietly directed toward him. After the event, they met backstage for a few moments. Cameras were everywhere, but in a small corner away from the spotlight, Bo-gum congratulated her with a proud smile. "You did it," he said. She replied softly, "We both did." It was short, subtle, and full of meaning. As time went on, their bond became a source of quiet inspiration for people around them. Industry colleagues admired their humility and mutual respect. They were proof that not every connection needs to be loud to be real. Eventually, they began working on a project together again, a charity campaign focused on mental health and self-worth among young people. Both agreed to participate without hesitation. The campaign video showed them speaking about hope and healing, sitting side by side, radiating calm and sincerity. Fans who saw it couldn't stop talking about their natural chemistry. It felt like a continuation of something pure that had started long ago. After the campaign shoot, Bo-gum and Yoo Jung shared dinner in a quiet restaurant by the Han River. It was the same spot where they had filmed one of their most memorable scenes years earlier. The atmosphere was calm, the city lights reflecting on the water. Bo-gum looked at her and said, "It feels like life brought us full circle." Yoo Jung nodded and smiled. Maybe it was always meant to. Their connection was no longer about old rumors or fan hopes. It had evolved into something stronger, a deep friendship layered with understanding, affection, and an unspoken promise. They didn't need to define it. They just needed to live it. Over time, their story became one of those rare tales in the industry that fans cherish not because of scandal or drama, but because it felt real. Park Bo-gum and Kim Yoo Jung showed that love, in its purest form, doesn't always have to be loud, dramatic, or public. Sometimes it's a message, a glance, a kind word at the right moment. And for them, it all began with a late-night confession that melted the distance time had built between them. It was the quiet spark that reignited something beautiful. Proof that even after years apart, hearts that truly connect will always find their way back to each other. This is K-Drama Cycle, sharing another story of love that endured through time, faith, and understanding. Because sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones written in silence and remembered by the heart.